Well, hey, it's good to see you guys today. I'm not sure if we have a smaller group today. Maybe it's partly summer holidays, but we'll maybe see if we get a couple of more late joiners. I know a couple people on break and a couple people out of town. But hey, Skylar, great to see you, man.
How's it going, Matt?
Pretty great, pretty great.
It's good to hear.
So today, you guys, we are going to put a wrap on this conversation of failure. And to be honest with you guys, we've spent, in my opinion, entirely too much time talking about failure already. So we're going to try to put an end to this conversation today. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's important to acknowledge failure, but not dwell on it. Okay. So there's three things specifically that we're going to cover. We're going to cover number 13, 14, and 15 as far as the 15 most common causes of failure, according to Napoleon Hill. Then we're going to get into another one of the principles of success that Napoleon Hill identifies. And we're going to talk about what it is, why it's important, and most importantly, how to apply it. Because information isn't worth squat unless it's applied. Am I right? So today, like I said, we're going to talk about the end of the conversation here is to failure. Okay. And number 13 on the common causes of failure is the desire of wanting something for nothing. The desire of wanting something for nothing. And if you think about it, I mean, gambling is a pretty big thing. A lot of times people looking for, the get rich quick scheme. Am I right? And that's one thing that I got drilled into my head as a young guy was that there's no such thing as something for nothing. And the truth is that what comes easy won't last, and what lasts probably won't come easy. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish that wasn't so, but in my experience, that's been true. And I see that with health and fitness. Everybody's looking for these get fit quick schemes and, 6 hacks to, a 6-pack abs and that sort of thing. The truth is that in my experience, and I could be wrong here, but in my experience, it's that the problem with shortcuts is they always just take too long, don't they? And the real hack, you guys want the real secret? The real shortcut is just to do the damn work. Stop wishing, stop waiting, and start willing it to happen. Whether that's your finances, whether that's your fitness, or anything else in between. That's been my experience, and I believe that to be true. But when I read this principle that Napoleon Hill is talking about, the desire of getting something for nothing, I started to see it a little bit through a different lens. Okay. And that one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of people making is the mistake of wanting to get value before they give value. Wanting to get value before they give value. And to be honest with you, there's a number of people that are involved in this program that are here as a direct result of services that I provided at no cost, for free. In fact, I met Janelle, I'm not even sure how many years ago it was now, maybe 3 or 4 or something like that, because I had donated a package to my gym for a fundraiser. And I don't know what she paid for it, probably not much, but I ended up training her for a couple of weeks at no charge. And then what came of that is a relationship and a long-term sort of, client. The really cool thing is that she actually has, introduced me to a whole bunch of different people, friends, family, that have been clients too over the years. And that's one of the main reasons why I do those free workshops. Put myself out there, engage with others, try to provide value before asking of value. And I'll tell you, Napoleon Hill talks about a principle called going the extra mile. Going the extra mile. He says to give a gem. And if you get into the habit of giving more than you can ever ask for in return, he says that's one of the most powerful things that you can do to put you on the path to success. Just get into the habit of giving and giving and giving. Bob Proctor used to talk about this when he says that I just put so much good out there that only good can come back. And I think that that's really true. That when you're in the habit of just putting good out there, because what you put out comes back multiplied. That's the law. Okay. So that's one of those habits of going the extra mile and giving more than people would reasonably expect that served me well over the years, and one you guys might want to consider doing as well. Number 14 is the habit of procrastination. Dun, dun, dun. If this isn't like everybody's Achilles heel, huh? Napoleon Hill says that procrastination and indecision are common enemies that every man and woman must overcome. To me, that sounds like something that we all struggle with to a certain degree. Am I right? Procrastination, indecision, letting ourselves off the hook. You know, Napoleon Hill cites procrastination as one of the leading causes of failure. To be honest with you, like, in my experience, I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is this belief of thinking or believing that we have more time to do the things that we want to do the things that we think are important or that we dream about. And man, like, I'll tell you, I've said this in my workshops, I've said this on my one-on-one calls. It's like, you know, one of the biggest mistakes is thinking that we have time, and we don't. And I don't say that to try to scare people. I try to say that to encourage people to act with urgency. And if there's something that you've been thinking about, or something that you've been dreaming about, or something that you want to do, like, generally speaking, there's no better time than right now. I always say that be patient with yourself, be patient, but act with urgency. Like, don't put off doing the things that are really important to you. Be patient with yourself, but act with urgency. I read something the other day, and I forget where I read this, but I read that on average, there's about 300,000 people that die each day worldwide. 300,000 people. And most of those people woke up that day thinking that they had more time. The truth is that we never really know when our number is going to get called. And it says to me that we got to act. Like, you listen to Nolan Barnes talk about that the other day as a guest on Mindset Monday, said something similar, you know. But I think that procrastination, that indecision, is the common enemy that every man and woman must learn to overcome. Okay. Number 15, last one, and then we're moving on. Okay. Last one is giving in to one or more of the 7 basic fears. Giving in to one or more of the 7 basic fears. Now, you'll remember from previous conversations that some of the 7 basic fears are the fear of death, the fear of old age, the fear of ill health, the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of loss of love, and the fear of loss of liberty. Okay. In my opinion, in my experience, some of the most common, or the biggest, the granddaddy of them all, seem to fall into 2 camps: the fear of criticism and the fear of poverty. The fear of criticism and the fear of poverty seem to be 2 of the biggest ones that continue to come up in conversations with clients. You know, and I think that's really interesting. But, you know, when it comes to the fear of criticism, you know, I heard a while back, a friend of mine gave me a piece of advice that I had never heard before, and I thought was really good. And he said that don't ever take criticism from somebody that you're not going to for advice. Don't ever take criticism from somebody that you wouldn't go to for advice. I thought that was really insightful. And here's the real interesting thing about that is that I've found that most often, more often than not, you will never be criticized by somebody who's doing more than you or doing better than you. For a couple of reasons. One, those people who are driven, who are motivated, who are successful, okay, they have a positive mental attitude. They're also too busy to turn around and shit on somebody else. Okay. But more often than not, when they're successful, when they're driven, when they're motivated, they're also likely to be of the attitude or mindset that they want to help uplift other people. And the people that are usually critical of others are the ones that have too much time on their hands, are either frustrated with their own situation, looking for an outlet, looking for somebody to take it out on. Okay, that you will not be criticized by somebody who's doing more than you. In the words of Conor McGregor, I've been watching some of these documentaries that you guys had suggested later, the Conor McGregor one and the Arnold Schwarzenegger one. And Conor McGregor had a line in this documentary the other night that I was watching. I just thought this was pure gold and classic Conor. But he said something like, with all due respect to everybody, fuck everybody. And I just thought that was brilliant. You know, it's so good. It's so true. You know, with all due respect, fuck everybody, you know, classic Conor. But I kind of say the same thing, like not to be rude or disrespectful, but fuck them. Let them live their life and you do yours. Just my opinion. What the hell do I know, though? When it comes to the fear of poverty, I think the fear of poverty is one of those things, you guys, that we live in one of the most advanced places in time, location, and history. You know what I mean? We have more access to ideas, information, and opportunities than ever before. Wallace D. Wattles, the author of The Science of Getting Rich, says that, we live in a land of opportunity. And that if somebody is only making the income that they're earning through their job, it's because they've made the decision to only have that stream of revenue that's provided through their current employment. The truth is that money is an infinite resource, and we live in an abundant world where opportunity and money are all around us. We just need to align ourselves with that. And we'll begin to attract that. I remember hearing a story that Bob Proctor talked about one time where he had an idea for this project. And Bob Proctor was talking about how big he wanted to build this thing and how many people he wanted to influence with it. And he was sharing this idea with a friend. And his friend said, "Wow, that's going to cost a lot of money. Like, where are you going to get that money from?" And he said, "Well, I'll get it from wherever it is right now." So simple, but so true. All the money is already out there. It's already in existence. We just need to align ourselves with it. So there we have it. The 15 common causes of failure. Okay, the 15 common causes of failure. Now, I just want to take a minute here and ask you guys, what's one thing? We've been talking about this now for 2 weeks. What's one thing that you guys have either learned or confirmed about failure or temporary defeat or anything like that? You guys can look back through your notes if you need to, but what's one thing that you've learned or confirmed about failure?
I think the biggest thing is that if you're not failing, you're not really learning, you're not growing, and you're not taking the opportunities or the chances to move forward. So you're just going to be stuck.
Right. Yeah. If you're not taking chances and if you're not learning, then if you're not failing, then you're probably not learning enough.
Yeah, you're just like coasting.
Right. Yeah. Plateauing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's interesting because it's one thing to know that intellectually. It's a different experience to feel that on an emotional level, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're in that situation or in that position where it's not going your way.
Yeah, and it might not feel great in the moment because failure doesn't typically feel good.
Right.
But when you once you're kind of past it and you look back, hindsight shows that it led you to something greater.
Right.
I think about that with like relationships I've had, where I'm at now with like I wouldn't, and I lost a job kind of due to like having a bad attitude, but we'll get into that. But I was sort of pushed into a corner at work and I was like, no, I'm out. So I left, and it was when I was in the restaurant industry. So I walked away and I walked down the street and I went to school. Like literally like went from that job and applied to go to school.
Wow.
And then and I know that that day happened to push me into that direction. So didn't feel good to have somebody be like, sign this to say something that you have a shitty attitude, but I was like, no.
Right.
Out. And then it went on to bigger, better things. And I always kind of trickle it down the line to like how I met my husband. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been basically pushed to quit my job. So
Isn't that interesting though? Yeah, I love that. And you know, here's the thing I shared in the group chat the other day that part of my affirmations lately has been the phrase that only good things happen to me. And everything is either a blessing or a blessing in disguise.
yes.
And the trick is to be able to, when things aren't going your way and it feels like failure and it feels like things are falling apart, to start to remember and call into memory that fact and get to that place of gratitude that you're talking about there and appreciation quicker rather than later.
It's true. And I think a lot about that story you told us about the guy with the kid who's, broke his arm or leg or whatever on the horse, and like just having that, it might not be great now, but something's being lined up for me.
Right. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad.
Yeah. And taking that as like, yeah, like shit happens and just letting it kind of roll off your back. It's a really good way to live because it's just less stressful. You just now the shit happens. So now all you really have to do is be excited and look forward to what good is coming.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Anna and I were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. I shared with you guys that, we decided that, well, maybe it's just not even it. Maybe it's bad. Maybe it's just all good. If it gets us to the point where we're grateful for what happened anyway, that's what I mean. The only good things happen to me. If you guys want to write that down or steal that line or adopt that one, make it one of your own affirmations, it might be not a bad idea. Only good things happen to me, and everything is either a blessing in disguise or a blessing in disguise. That's awesome, Tamara. Thanks for sharing that. You're right. Anybody else? What's one thing that you either learned or confirmed about failure? Skylar?
Biggest one for me is lack of discipline. For sure.
Lack of discipline. Okay. How so?
Well, recently I've tried to go to the gym a bit more. And I found if the only time I went to the gym was when I was motivated, it would be very few times. So
right.
Even last night I was sitting on the couch. It was like 8 p.m. and I'm like, oh man, I really don't want to go to the gym. But I just got up and did it, and afterwards I felt great about it, and I was happy, and I had discipline to do it. So it's awesome. A pretty big one, just to have discipline and keep doing things.
Right on. Good for you. Yeah, that's the truth about motivation, though. Hey, I think Brett said it a couple of weeks ago that discipline is infinitely more important than motivation. Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes, but you're right. If you only did the things you had to do, if you only showed up to work on the days that you wanted to go to work, or you only exercise on the days that you wanted to exercise, like it'd be pretty hit and miss, wouldn't it?
Be pretty rare. Yep.
Be pretty rare. Yeah. The other interesting thing about motivation is that motivation is often the byproduct. It comes after you do the work.
Right.
I'm sure that most of you guys can relate to this, but it's usually after you've been exercising for a while and you start to see some of those results and you start to feel the difference, then you feel motivated to kind of stick with it. But not often before. Yeah, that's a good point, Skylar. Jamie, are you able to add anything, or you got your hands full over there? Might have your hands full.
Yeah, we're playing the park right now.
Oh, fun.
I'm listening though.
Okay. So a couple. So was that a yes or a no? Just to be clear, I don't want to cut you off if you had some valuable insight to add.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Couple of things that really resonated with me from that conversation about failure was that there's a difference between temporary defeat and failure. There's a difference between temporary defeat and failure. And temporary defeat seems to be a part of the equation. It's a necessary ingredient. Again, I was watching this Conor McGregor thing last night, and he was saying that he says that failure is the secret ingredient to success. Like, I just love this guy's attitude. Like, I wasn't a huge Conor McGregor fan before this show, but man, am I ever a Conor McGregor fan now. It's unreal. But I find that, yeah, temporary defeat and failure aren't necessarily the same thing. And the other thing that really resonated with me is that there's only two ways that failure or temporary defeat can be hurtful to you. Okay. The first one, in my opinion, is if it causes you to quit or give up on your dreams. If it causes you to quit or give up on your dreams. And I remember last week we were talking about, the difference between letting go of something that's not serving you anymore and giving up on your dreams. And I think those have two very different feelings and motivations,
That's really cool. I used to look at things like that differently. And then a kind of like a acquaintance of ours, he separated from his wife, and he said to Dave and I feel like a failure. Like our marriage failed, and I feel like it was a failure. And I was like, no. And I'm starting to see the difference, because his dream and his goal was to have a really long, happy relationship, but maybe it was getting long, but it definitely wasn't happy, because your goal is never to go in and have a really long, unhappy marriage. So that doesn't mean that there's not a person that he'll find now to have that with. So his dream can be the same. If he was like, never again, don't want another woman, don't want, that would be a fail. But just redirecting the plan, I don't know. And so I, at the time, I didn't have that like knowledge to tell him. I just said, it's not a failure. You spent 15 or 20 years of your lives together. That's pretty successful. Like, there's people I can't stand for more than an hour. Right?
100%.
So
right.
I don't think that's a failure. They made two awesome kids, and that's pretty successful if you ask me. But
right. And I would agree.
It's just a mindset change of like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's really smart, Tamara. You're right. Thanks for sharing that. And actually, you touched on something that was my second point here. So there's only two ways that failure can affect you, okay, or can be your downfall. And that's one, if it causes you to quit or give up on your dreams. And two, to Tamara's point there, is if you allow failure, if you internalize it, if you internalize that defeat, and it becomes a part of your story or your narrative or your identity, where you said there, Tamara, that You say, I feel like a failure, or I'm a failure, or that relationship was a failure. If you internalize that and it becomes a part of who you think you are, or what you think you're capable or not capable of, those are the only two things that, they say that they have that analogy about the ships, right? That, ships are surrounded by water, and that's not what sinks them. What sinks them is the water that gets into the ships. And it's like that with defeat too. If you internalize that, and if you allow that to become a part of your identity, I'm a failure, I'm never going to, or I can't do that, or that sort of thing. Okay. But all right, that's a wrap on our conversation on failure. Moving on. Okay. So today's conversation, we're talking about a principle that Napoleon Hill identified as a key element of success. And that principle is a pleasing personality. A pleasing personality. Now, it sounds obvious. It sounds pretty simple and straightforward. Okay. Some people might even be thinking, well, I have a pleasing personality. Like, I don't need to improve. I don't need to change. Like, get out of here. And let me tell you, if that's your attitude about a conversation around pleasing personality, that should probably be your first clue that you got terrible attitude. Okay. But a pleasing personality. Now, the truth is, you could be asking yourself, well, could it be better? All you guys are pretty likable. You're pretty personable. You're pretty smart. You're pretty determined. But could our attitudes be better? The truth is, it could always be better, couldn't it? Probably. Okay. And I shared with you guys an essay called Attitude by Earl Nightingale. And on the surface, it sounds like I said, pretty simple and straightforward essay. But the deeper you go, the more powerful it becomes. And I just love this essay. It's another one of those ones that you could mine over and over again and continue to extract a wealth of wisdom from. Okay. But Earl Nightingale defines attitude as your position or bearing as indicated by your actions, feeling, or mood. He says that your attitude is your position or bearing as indicated by your actions, feeling, or mood. And he goes on to say something that I really like. And he says that your attitude towards life will determine life's attitude towards you. Your attitude towards life will determine life's attitude towards you. Now, I've said this before, but this is worth repeating. I think this is a great opportunity to do so. That I've often mentioned that, like, my mental and emotional state is like priority number one, folks. My mental and emotional state is priority number one. And I'm not even ashamed to tell you that I will put that above the needs of my family often, the needs of my friends, and certainly the needs of work. Okay, and there's a very good explanation for this, but what does that look like? Well, that means that, like, I prioritize sleep. I used to be a part of the, not even the 5 a.m. club. I used to be a part of the 4 a.m. club, but I don't do that anymore. I prioritize sleep. I prioritize workouts. I prioritize quiet time and like some silence and solitude. Many of you guys have probably noticed that on my social media and on my stories and things like that, like I take regular trips down to the beach and just to go sit by the ocean and things like that. And I take those as forms of like little mental holidays because of what those do to contribute to my mental and my emotional state. We talked before about the importance of like not opening my phone or not looking at emails or text messages or Instagram and Facebook and things like that first thing in the morning. The importance of being able to establish your mindset and establish your state before you face the day. Okay. It sounds selfish, but it's not. You know what it is? It's cause and effect. It's cause and effect. What do I mean by that? Well, everything is cause and effect in life, okay? Now, we can't control the effect. All we can do is control being the cause and setting ourselves up for the effect. And if you are taking the actions and ensuring that you're taking care of the cause, well, the effects will take care of themselves. So you just focus on the actions that you're responsible and in control of, either doing or in some cases not doing, and the effects will take care of themselves. See what I'm saying? So it's cause and effect. Okay. Now, Earl Nightingale in his essay, he says that sometimes it's hard to convince people that the world they experience is a reflection of their attitude. I read that, I was like, oh, no shit, Earl, like, tell me about it. That's the toughest part of my job, is trying to convince people that their world is a reflection of their attitude. The truth is that it's easier to point the finger and lay blame, and you can always look at, well, is this person did that, and this happened, and that happened. Most people won't ever pause to ask themselves, well, what role did I play in participating in that? What did I do to either create that or permit that or attract that? Okay. And he says it works like this: a great attitude, great results. Good attitude, good results. Fair attitude, fair results. Poor attitude, poor results. And William James, who is like the godfather of psychology in America, William James famously said that the greatest discovery of my generation is the fact that a human being can change their lives by changing their attitude of mind. That's the greatest discovery of his generation. Okay. And I want to pull something up here for you real quick. Oh, whoops. Here, I'm going to try this again. Can you guys see this okay? Skylar, you got eyes on this? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we've talked about this to an extent in the past, okay? Now, Albert Einstein said that everything is energy, and that's just all there is to it, okay? And it's true. And we're a form of energy, and all energy operates according to law, okay? Now, as a form of energy, we operate on a specific frequency, okay? We have a specific frequency that we're operating on, okay? And let's imagine for a moment that this is the frequency that we're operating on, okay? There's infinite numbers of frequencies, and these lines are going to represent some of those frequencies, okay? Now, at the moment, we're thinking on a frequency. We have certain feelings that are associated with those thoughts on that frequency, okay? That allows us to take certain actions on that frequency, okay? We have certain beliefs, and we'll say certain habits too, okay? And when we're operating on this frequency, we're actually attracting based on the frequency that we're in harmony with, okay? We're attracting based on the frequency that we're in harmony with. The law of attraction is a secondary law that's based on the primary law, which is the law of vibration, okay? And the law of vibration states that energies of a similar vibration attract, okay? Now, when we want to change so what are we attracting? Well, we're attracting people into our lives based on that frequency. We're attracting ideas, opportunities. We're even attracting wealth, or lack of in some cases, okay? But when we want to improve our results in life, and we want to improve the quality of our health, our finances, our relationships, our mind, or anything for that matter, okay, what we need to be doing, right, is shifting our vibration, shifting our attitude, improving our mindset and our attitude. And when we do that, we raise our vibration, okay, we improve our attitude. And what we do is we start to think on this level or on this vibration frequency, okay? And as a result of that, we start to feel different, don't we? We start to feel better because what you think you feel and what you feel you attract. You'll also start to have different actions, or in some cases not, right? You'll also have develop maybe certain better beliefs, let go of some of those disempowering beliefs and adopt some more empowering beliefs. And ideally, you'd be working on developing some better quality habits, okay? Some higher quality habits. Now, when you start to change your attitude, okay, you'll start to attract on this frequency. You'll start to attract on this frequency. You'll start to attract better quality ideas, better quality introductions to people, okay, better quality income, perhaps, too. And there was a line here in this essay on the magic word where Earl Nightingale says that a great attitude does much more than turn on the lights in our world. Okay, it seems to magically connect us to all sorts of serendipitous opportunities that were somehow absent before the change. How does that happen? Well, it's because you begin to attract on that level, on that frequency. He says, maybe that's what people mean when they say we're lucky, because suddenly we find ourselves getting the so-called breaks. Okay, but it's really nothing more than this new connection to the world that comes with a great attitude. We find ourselves doing more and doing it in less time. We put ourselves directly on the path of all kinds of serendipitous happenings. You will begin to attract on this frequency. Now, here's the thing, and this is where it gets tricky. Watch this, okay? It's not all sunshine and roses up here, folks. It's not all smooth sailing. The fact of the matter is that when you're operating on this frequency, you will also begin to attract problems on that frequency. I used to make the mistake of believing that I would get to a point in life where we didn't have problems to deal with. Now I realize that, you know, there is no level of success where you're not going to have problems or issues or obstacles or challenges. There is no level of success where you're not going to have setbacks, challenges, and things to overcome. That's just life. That's part of it. Okay. But here's the thing, and this is what's important here. Okay. When you inevitably run into a problem, okay, well, let me back up a second. There's a difference between a high quality problem here and a low quality problem here, isn't there? 100% there is. Right now, I mean, we're trying to sell our house in Saskatchewan and we're having some difficulty with the tenants. Now, in my mind, that's a high quality problem. I'm certainly not dealing with some of the horrors and some of the heartbreak that a lot of people around the world are today. I'm trying to sell an income property and I'm having a little trouble with the tenants. That is a quality problem. Okay, but here's the thing, this is the challenge. Okay, when you inevitably attract a problem, okay, which will happen because it's life. Okay, the question then is, well, are you able to maintain this high vibration energy and this high vibration attitude and this high vibration frequency, or do you allow that problem to drop you back down into these low vibration thinking? Does that problem pull you back into feeling the low vibration feelings of fear, doubt, limitation, anger, frustration, resentment, whatever that might be? And do you start to revert back to low vibration habits? That's the question. Now, here's the thing. We're all human. So the chances of that happening are probably pretty high. So then the next question is, well, how long will it take you then to get back to your high vibration state? if you revert back to that low vibration energy, that low vibration attitude, how long does it take you to get back to that high vibration state of more empowering thoughts, better feelings and emotions, and better habits? We talked before about shortening the time or closing that gap on your rebound effect. And when people are met with, temporary defeat, one of the biggest keys to success is that ability to bounce back, to get back into that high vibration state. It's going to be key. Okay. But in my mind here, like, there's really only two ways to live, guys. There's really only two ways to live, in my opinion. And that's in an inspired state or an uninspired state. An inspired state or an uninspired state. And let me tell you, they're two very different life experiences, aren't they? Now, let me ask you guys, what does an inspired state feel like? Or maybe put another way, what kind of emotions does inspiration breed? Skylar?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah. What kind of like emotions do you experience when you're in an inspired state? What does that feel like? Or what kind of emotions does inspiration breed? What's the effect of being in an inspired state?
Confidence.
Confidence?
Hope.
Hope, for sure. Yeah.
Happy would be one of them, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Just
Totally. What was the last one?
Just positive emotions in general, I guess.
Positive emotions in general. Sure. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I would say even things like excitement, maybe it's like kind of like you were saying, hope, excitement, joy, fulfillment, maybe some peace of mind, satisfaction, accomplishment. I could go on, but they're all positive, aren't they? Yeah. Personally, I think that that's the purpose of a good goal, is to inspire us. A while back now, we had a man named Darcy Henneberry on a Mindset Monday call, and Darcy said, asked a question that I thought was really profound. And he said, you should ask yourself, are you operating with the right goal in mind? Does your goal inspire you to get up and get out of bed? Most people's goals, specifically New Year's resolutions, are things like, well, I need to quit smoking. I need to lose 10 pounds. It's like, oh, those don't sound like fun at all. That sounds like work. That sounds like a struggle. That's not very inspiring or motivating. So you could ask yourself, well, does your goal inspire you? Is your goal getting you up and out of bed in the morning, giving you something, like you said, to look forward to? Okay. So what does an uninspired state feel like? What do you think? What kind of feelings are bred by living in a state of being uninspired? Tamara, what do you think?
Down or depressed?
Yeah, down, depressed. I think you said stuck. Okay. Maybe frustration.
Yeah.
Maybe even feelings of like desperation. Maybe lost, things like that, feeling like you're just drifting, existing. Yeah, 100%. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes those inspired states come naturally, doesn't it? Sometimes, like, have you guys ever just woken up and you've just been in a good mood and you felt great and you're high vibing and, you know, like things are flowing, things are smooth. Yeah. Well, I ask it, have you guys ever woken up and for no real apparent reason, just kind of like in a bit of a funk? Kind of low vibing? Yeah. So sometimes those feelings of inspiration, they come naturally, and sometimes they need to be generated. Sometimes they need to be generated. We need to create that feeling of inspiration. You know, and one of the simplest ways to do that is to make a committed decision. Decide. Decision is a high vibration state. And like I've said in the past, one of my affirmations, first thing in the morning, every single day, I'm in the habit of saying to myself, deciding today is going to be a great day. Don't leave that kind of thing up to chance. Decide in advance that today is going to be a great day. Okay. We talk about affirmations, you guys, and let me tell you, Napoleon Hill says that the price that you must pay for a successful life is everlasting persistence with the principle of autosuggestion. The price you must pay is everlasting persistence. The practice of autosuggestion. If you guys are not using autosuggestion or affirmations, you guys are doing a huge disservice here. A huge disservice. Okay. And the reason is because what you think, you feel, and what you feel, you attract. What you think, you feel, and what you feel, you attract. So when I tell people that my mental and emotional state is priority number one, it's not because I'm trying to be selfish. It's because I know that I operate on that frequency. And if I take the time in the morning before the kids wake up to set my mental and emotional state and take care of this and take care of this, that everything else just goes better. My relationship with my wife goes smoother. My relationship with my kids goes smoother. My relationship with work goes smoother. The kinds of things that I'm attracting into my life are at a higher quality frequency. I used to grind it out and sacrifice things like sleep and my workouts to get some work done. And I realized that I'm not getting anywhere by doing that. Set your state. Prioritize your mental and emotional well-being first, and watch as everything else gets a little bit smoother. Okay. Now, he says that Earl Nightingale says that attitude is your, what did he call it? Your position or bearing indicated by your actions, feelings, or mood. Actions, feelings, or mood. Now get this, that tells me that your attitude is expressed by your mind, but also your body. It's expressed by your mind and also your body. So let's do a little exercise here. I want to close your eyes real quick, everybody except for Thomas, maybe. Okay. Don't close your eyes, Thomas. Okay. But close your eyes real quick, and I want to ask you, I want you to picture a successful person. Picture a successful person. Now, how do they look? How do they carry themselves? How are they standing? What's their posture like? What kind of clothes are they wearing? What kind of shoes are they wearing? Is their hair done? Okay. What does that look like? Okay. Now I want you to pause for a second there. And now I want you to, right next to them, I want you to picture an unsuccessful person. Okay. Maybe even like a sad person or a depressed person. Okay. Now, let me ask you, what does that person look like? What kind of clothes are they wearing? How are they holding themselves, carrying themselves? What's their body posture like, or their body language? What does their hair look like? What kind of shoes are they wearing? Okay. Now, who would like to come on and explain to me kind of like either what they pictured or the difference between either of those two images? Was there a difference or was it the same?
Can you say that last part again? What was the
Yeah.
difference?
Can you tell me kind of what you envisioned when I asked you about a successful person, what that looks like versus an unsuccessful person?
Well, immediately when you said successful, I pictured the woman that owns the football club on Ted Lasso.
Okay.
She's always in like dressed really nice and like suits and like her hair is done, her makeup's done. She's like always on in that
Okay.
way.
Okay.
But I quickly switched it like within a second to my idea of success, which is like
Okay.
freedom of like time and energy and like all that stuff where I have more of that than just like money and hard work and success, financial success. Like obviously financial success is important as well, but for me, like having that sense of freedom. So I envisioned a woman that I know who kind of lives that life. And it's just more like, instead of that like structured like suit and like stand up tall, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was more of like really peaceful and easygoing and loving and warm.
Okay.
So I kind of
That's
got,
the vibe that she gives off, eh?
yeah,
Calm,
yeah.
comforting, peaceful.
And that's my success. But like, I see
Well-
the other side too, where it's like confidence is like, you know, you're not like meek and like not wanting to say things or talk or look people in the eye. You're just kind of like, that was the person I saw when you said for the next half to
Right.
kind of think of, like the unsuccessful person. So
Right. Cool. Thanks, Tamara. Skylar, what came up for you when I asked you to picture or imagine an unsuccessful person?
I pictured an overweight person sitting on the couch watching TV who has no real goals, has nothing really going for them in life, and just kind of just goes with the wind.
Just drifts, meanders,
Mm-hmm.
no direction. Were they wearing pants or were they in their gotch?
Big
What'd you
hairy
picture?
belly.
Tell the truth. What?
Big hairy belly with some like food on it.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Interesting. 100%. You know, well, here's the thing. It conjures up an image in our mind. Does the difference between a successful person and an unsuccessful person? And when he talks about your attitude is the direction or bearing as indicated by your actions, okay, your feelings and your mood, it tells me that your attitude is expressed by your body and your mind. And the truth is that your body is a very, very powerful tool that you can use to shift your attitude or to shift your vibration and your energy. We've talked before about like the clothes that you put on. You know, we've talked before about your workouts and things like that. We've talked before about like the importance of like just showering, doing your hair, like Tamara described there, like that'll change the way that you feel, won't it? I had a conversation with a woman yesterday, and she had a big event that she went to in Calgary, where this was a professional function, but Stampede is going on right now. And she went and bought 6 new outfits for this event, including like a real big, real expensive handbag or a purse. And she said, oh, Matt, she said, you know, when you walk into a function with a new handbag or a new purse, she's like, that's just like, it's just like a next level thing. And I've never done that, but maybe I see Tamara nodding her head and laughing. So maybe she has some experience with that, but I know firsthand.
no, my husband's laughing in the background, so I can.
Oh, oh yeah. Sorry, Dave. But I know firsthand how powerful it is to do something as simple as get your shoes shine. You know, and the truth is that like, if you're thinking about it, okay, I'm gonna pull this up again real quick. If you think about it, okay, I said that what you think you feel and what you feel you attract. Okay, we're constantly attracting on the level of our emotions and our feelings. Okay, so that's why I say I prioritize that feeling. Okay, but if we got our stick man here, okay, there's really, you guys, this is our feeling, right? This is our feeling, is a subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is our feeling mind or emotional mind. Okay, if we're looking to change the way that we feel, there's really only a few ways that we can do that. Okay, and the ways that we can do that are changing our thoughts, because what you think you feel, and when you have a thought that enters your mind, if it's positive one, it could be one of joy, excitement, hope and things like that. If it's one of fear, it could be or if it's a negative thought, it could be one of lack, limitation, or fear. You'll feel that, won't you? Okay, so this is part of why affirmations are so important, right? But the other way to change the way that you feel is this way, based on your actions, based on how you move your body, whether that's workouts, because workouts create a chemical reaction within the body that changes the way that you feel. Okay, but it's things like your body posture too. You guys mentioned either sitting up tall, and I don't know if any of you guys have done this before, but it's a very, very powerful practice to stand in the mirror and do like your Superman pose before you go into an important meeting, before you go into a job interview or something of that nature. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't do that kind of stuff before all of my calls. Every single one of them. I have to have a little pep talk with myself in the mirror in a Superman pose. Okay. Your posture is important. When you describe or you picture a sad, depressed, unsuccessful person, not that sad and depressed is unsuccessful, but you know what I mean. You're right, Tamara. I think you said they're slouching, poor body posture, things like that, right? Unkept. Get this. One of the things that Napoleon Hill cites as one of the most important factors to a pleasing personality is a pleasant facial expression. Pleasant facial expression. Now, I'll be real honest with you guys here. I've got these kind of like old man bushy eyebrows. Okay, and sometimes it looks like I'm frowning when I'm not. And I've wondered in the past if that's part of the reason why sometimes I'll go to places and people don't say hi to me if they think I'm like scowling at them or something. In fact, one time, here, I'll be honest with you guys, I accidentally shaved off one of my eyebrows by accident. It was so bad. I go to the barber though, you guys, and my barber usually like trims up my eyebrows and he like trims up my ear and stuff too, gets all the hair out. I'm getting 40 now. And I thought one time, well, I'll just trim up my eyebrow here by myself. I was trimming up my sideburn, and the fucking guard came off of my razor as I was doing my eyebrow, and I thought, oh my God. It was so bad, you guys. That's like a college prank. You shave somebody's eyebrow off while they're passed out. And I did that to myself. I couldn't believe it. I thought Anna was going to break up with me. Anyway, we talk about pleasing facial expression. And sometimes I wonder if I just have like a resting bitch face. You guys ever hear that term, resting bitch face? And sometimes you get people and they're just like, it's like, oh, that's, not a very pleasing facial expression. In fact, if we're talking about how the body is a tool that we can use to shift our mood, to shift our attitude, and to shift our frequency, just in the same way that our body posture and standing in a Superman pose changes the way that we feel, okay? Scientifically, they've demonstrated that when our smiling muscles contract, they fire a signal back to the brain, and your brain releases tiny molecules called neuropeptides to fight off stress. Okay, so then other neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins come into play too. The endorphins act as a mild pain reliever, and the serotonin is an antidepressant. That's probably why they say that laughter is the best medicine. You know, but it says, in short, when our brains feel happy, we smile, but vice versa. Remember, I said that this is a two-way street, that when we smile, our brains feel happy. Your body is a powerful tool that shifts your vibration, your attitude, and your energy when used correctly. Okay. Now, Earl Nightingale, he says that one of the best ways to improve your attitude is to just act like it. Act like it. To pretend. Now, in fact, I learned something recently that I thought was fascinating. Okay, I'll share this with you guys here. I realize we're a couple minutes over time, but last thing here is that even just the word pretend, which we're all familiar with, okay, has its origin, I believe it's in Latin, is two parts, two words, pre, as in before, and tend, which means to stretch in a specific direction. To stretch in a specific direction. Now, what does that mean to me? Well, to me, that means and speaks to the importance of acting as your like ideal future self, dressing for the job that you want, not the job that you have, pretending that you are that person before you're that person. And when you claim it and you own it and you start to show up as that person, over time, you do that habitually, you do that often enough, and eventually that just becomes who you are. Be, do, have. Be the person, do the things before you can ever have what that person has. You know, I used to say, or I used to think that phrase, that fake it till you make it, was such a load of BS. I don't really like that phrase. Some people do. Maybe it resonates with you guys. I'm not a big fan of that fake it till you make it, but I am a big fan of that be it until you have it. Be it until you have it. And it relates to success. It relates to happiness. It relates to how you use your body, how you see yourself, and this whole concept of our own self-image. And remember, you cannot outperform your self-image. You will continue to revert back to old habits and old patterns and self-sabotage until you learn to shift your attitude and your self-image. So this week, make a point of making sure that you're using your body as a tool to set yourself up and prioritize your mental and emotional state. Set your state and watch as things begin to shift and things begin to flow and things begin to get a little bit easier. Not that everything's going to be hunky-dory and that you won't have problems. They'll just be better quality problems. Cool. All right, guys. Well, happy Friday. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, everybody.